According to credible and reliable sources, he was not killed for humanitarian purposes, but for power, oil, and money. Gaddafi suffered torture from the Western National Transitional Forces before finally giving up the ghost at the Battle of Sirte. If Gaddafi had succeeded to establish such a monetary system in Africa, the United States of America, Asia, and Europe would have been forced to buy oil and minerals in the African gold-backed currency, which would have tipped up sales. Gaddafi was strongly pushing this agenda via the African Union, especially when he was the chairman in 2009. The idea was greatly turned down by the Western powers because it will devalue their currencies and work negatively on their economies, and as a result they would have less or no control over African countries. In other words, Gaddafi's plans for Africa would have put an end to neocolonialism. NATO's plan to kill Gaddafi is the same as that of Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was assassinated by the US partly because he chose to sell his country's oil in the euro currency at the expense of the United States dollars. Now the United States was scared and skeptical about the instability the gold dinar will cause to its economy. Hussein's decision to sell oil in the euro was a blow to the United States, worsened by the proclamation that the dollar was the currency of the enemy. All these would have brought back another currency war, which in history was very common, especially in intra-Western and Middle East countries. According to the International Monetary Fund's report, Libya's central bank in 2011 possessed an estimated amount of 144 tons of gold in its vaults. Muammar Gaddafi's plan was to introduce a gold-backed currency, which he previewed that all African and Muslim nations will adopt. Although he had this in mind, he felt it could be some sort of rivalry with the euro and dollars. How the United States got to know about the gold dinar. A senior advisor to the United States President, Sidney Blumenthal, indicated to his Secretary General, Hillary Clinton, through an email that Gaddafi's government was holding 143 tons of gold and similar amounts of silver in their bank. In late March 2011, these stocks were taken to the southwest direction of Libya's border with Niger and Chad. More heat was added to the matter when former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, who also had interest in Libya, learned about the gold and silver that the country had. He also therefore embarked on attacking Libya. Some of Sarkozy's plans was to gain a share in Libyan oil production, to increase their French influence in this country and North Africa, to improve his internal political situation in France, to provide the French military with a chance to regain its position in the world, and to address Gaddafi's plans of freeing the so-called Francophone Africa from the parasitic French control. Hillary Clinton, the then United States Secretary of State, after hearing this, sought to prevent creation of such a currency in Africa. This hard currency would have allowed Africa to shake off the last heavy chains of colonial exploitation in the continent. The allegedly leaked email of Hillary Clinton had far-reaching implications on the fluid state of post-colonial relations with the West. If this is to be likened to something, then it is an eye-opener. Where Africa seeks to build an independent economic structure, the West is seen to try and derail those plans so as to retain its primacy in world affairs. That is why Gaddafi saw an unexpected death due to his desire to get Africa and Muslim states a new currency. If you are just joining us, then you are watching the real reason why Gaddafi was killed. Like the video and share it so it reaches many more Africans. You can also subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell in order not to miss any of our amazing content. Let us talk more about the gold dinar, a groundbreaking dream for Africa. Gaddafi's objective of this new currency was to divert oil revenues towards the state-controlled funds rather than American banks. In other words, it was aimed at stopping the use of the dollar for oil transactions in African countries, most especially Nigeria, Tunisia, Egypt, and Angola. In fact, these countries were ready to change their currencies as soon as the golden dinar was launched. Unfortunately, in March 2011, NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization coalition forces, began a military action in Libya in the name of freedom and humanitarian concerns. Unfortunately, many ignorant Libyans listened and believed the Western media instead of backing their leader. Gaddafi succeeded to rule Libya for over 42 years because he managed to gain support of many Libyan tribes by providing them with free water, almost free gasoline, free health system, as well as cheap and affordable education. Gaddafi's death marked the end of an African dream. Muhammad Gaddafi wanted to stay away from American influence in his oil transactions by using the golden dinar. He launched a project for this currency, and other African nations were ready to give him massive support. This was an African dream, but at the same time, it was going to be a nightmare for Western banking, which greatly benefits the USA and